you everyone that's joining this podcast. I really appreciate it. Now, if you're clicking on this is a channel about finance, but also other things that we'll talk about, events going on in the world. We might talk about sports, love sports, but most importantly, finance is one of the most important things in our lives. You probably don't look at it. Our teachers in high school said we would always use math for everything. And we kind of looked at them, laughed, said, nope. Well, turns out they were right. Everything you do involves money. Just take a look at it. No matter what your background is in terms of work, no matter where you came from, no matter where you live, no matter what your racial background is, your sexual orientation, your political affiliation, all that stuff. We are all working every day to make a living. We are all doing jobs to keep the roof over our head, to give our kids food, to keep that car in the garage, to keep the water running, to keep the lights running, stuff like that. And most importantly, to give yourself money to gain a better life. And this channel is about maximizing your wealth. That way you can make expert selections in terms of your money, make better management selections. And what I say about that is we all got to take a look at our finances and see how can we maximize this budget. What can we do? Now first, what I'll talk about today is 401ks. 401ks, you might have one, you might have had one, or you don't like them. But they are very important. So 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement account. Your contributions go through your paycheck. Can't just get the money from under your bed and tell your employer you want to put that in your 401k. No, that's not how it works. And then the money is meant for retirement. Who says that? The government. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Your employer gets a tax deduction because they're helping you save for retirement. Why does the government want you to save for retirement? Because they want you to be less dependent on them. If you're less dependent on the government, you're taking money out of all that money you saved up for retirement and depending less on the welfare system, the social security system. Now your employer contributes to it as well sometimes. So sometimes you get free money. For example, you put in $500, your employer puts in $250. Now you have $750, but you only work for the $500. Awesome, right? Free money. Take it when there is a match. Now there are certain vesting schedules that determine when you get the employer money. Sometimes you get it automatically. Sometimes the company says, hey, you gotta work for me for 3 years and then you can get 100% of my money. Some say, hey, you gotta work here 6 years to get 100% of the money, but every 2 years it increases by 20%. Something like that. There's different percentages there. And so you always gotta look at the vesting, because if you leave in a year of employment and the vesting schedule says, oh, you have to be here 3 years to get 100% of the money, but anything before you get nothing, well, you leave and you see your account balance, you're not getting all of it, it's because you're not entitled to the employer money. In the contract, they specifically said you gotta be employed here at least 3 years to get their money. You left before then, so you get nothing. So always take a look at that. And always take a look if they even match. Because if they're not matching, then take a look at your financial situation and decide how much you're willing to contribute into it. Now, you might get a tax deduction on that depending what type of money you put in the 401k. And we'll talk about that next here. My apologies. We'll talk about that after this. So how do you enroll in a 401k? So you enroll in a 401k of 3 ways. One is automatically enrolled into it. If you're automatically enrolled into it, keep in mind that sometimes automatically take out a percentage out of the paycheck. So that's why you gotta make sure you read that paperwork before you sign your benefits. You won't call in 5 months later and say you never wanted to enroll in a 401k because you signed up for it and they automatically took a percentage out. So that's why I always read first, because if you don't want to be in a 401k, you already got a retirement set up outside, you're already doing something else, well, you gotta tell them, no, I don't want to be in this. That way they can take you off of it and you're not automatically on it. And there's some certain guidelines there. So if you do want to take out your money and you notice it within a couple paychecks, it's a permissible withdrawal. Some employers allow it where you can take out your money and no more future money will go in there. Now, do keep in mind, depending what type of money you put in there, you might have to pay the taxes on that. There's another method where you're automatically enrolled in it, but the difference is you have to manually select the percentage of how much you want coming out of your paycheck. This is different because some people, you automatically enrolled in it. You think it's going to come out of your paycheck automatically, and it doesn't. So 5 years later, you decide you're no longer working with that company. You got a promotion well, not promotion. You got a better job somewhere else, and then you want to cash out your current 401k or move it to the other employer. And then you call in, and then you find out your balance is zero that time. You saw money was going in there. Well, you never did the two-step process where you have to manually select how much you wanted to contribute to your 401k. So keep that in mind. And then there's the third option where you have to manually enroll in it. When you get that paperwork, it says, do you want to be in it? Yes or no? No. Yes? Okay. Let's set it up then. And then you set up your percentage. Or you can set it up later. Maybe you don't want to do the 401k now. Maybe you want to start it 2 years from now. Stuff like that. Now there's three main types of money. Three main types of money are, it comes out of your paycheck before taxes. That is pre-tax. Keep that in mind, pre-tax. It's never been taxed before. It comes out of your taxes before the tax. It comes out of your paycheck before the taxes. My apologies there. So you're basically giving the IRS an IOU letter. So the IRS is gonna keep you to your word, and whenever you do take out that money, they're gonna say, hey, here's your IOU letter. Where's our piece of the pie? Give us some money because you owe some taxes. That's why you get a tax benefit now, but you have to pay them later. That's the key there. Don't think just because you're 65 that it's going to come out tax-free. No, that's not how it works. You're just giving the IRS an IOU saying, hey, I'll pay you taxes later. Don't want to pay them right now. Now, there's some after-tax contributions you could do. The difference is it's after-tax, self-explanatory there. Now, the contributions grow tax-deferred, so you put in that money, and then at 65, all that money you contributed in there was already taxed all those years, so you're not going to pay taxes on that anymore. And the thing is, the tax brackets might be different then, the tax rules might be different then. So that's the thing. You're taking advantage of the tax rules now, just in case if they're higher later, you don't got to pay higher taxes on that. But then there's no tax benefit right now. So you're not going to get that little tax deduction on your tax return, and your tax return is going to be lower. Now the earnings on what you earn, my apologies, the earnings from on top of your contributions are considered taxable. So the IRS is still going to come and say, hey, I want my piece of the pie on this part. You owe me this. And then there's the third one, which is Roth. For Roth, it comes out of your paycheck already taxed. Same thing as after tax, right? You might be thinking, what's the difference? Well, it has a future tax benefit. if you leave Roth contributions 5 years or more in that account, and then you're over 59 and a half, you can take out the earnings tax free. So you're basically taking out what you already put in there and what you gain on those investments tax free. Now, do you own your 401k plan? Short answer is no. Why is that? You're thinking, hey, I'm contributing to this. It's my money. I can do what I want. Short answer is no. Well, let's explain the long answer. You're putting money into your employer's 401k account. Remember, employer-sponsored account? You didn't set it up. Your employer set it up for you. You're just putting money into it. Now, they hire a bookkeeper to manage the money and all the books, all the data on that, because it is a lot of information there. So they can hire different bookkeepers whenever they want, just like how you can change internet providers. Same method. Now, if your company ever changes bookkeepers, all they're doing is going to a different provider. Your money is just going to transfer over in that sense. Now, sorry about that. Now, who does the employer and the bookkeeper report to? The IRS. The IRS sets the rules on what you can do under the 401k. So it's not your 401k plan. You cannot just do whatever you want at any given time. Once you put your money in there, you got to follow the IRS tax codes. You got to follow all those rules they have in there. And they are strict about this. Now, if you're one of those people that wants to fight the IRS, well, good luck to you. Good luck climbing that mountain. I wouldn't want to be that person, but if you got the money and resources, go ahead and fight the government yourself. Your employer's not going to do that for you. Your employer has to follow those IRS rules. The bookkeeper has to follow those IRS rules, and so do you. Might as well make the villain the IRS. Give them like a villain title. But like they say, you can't escape death and taxes. Pretty much the same thing on a 401k. Can't escape the IRS. They're still there. They're still lurking in the dark. They're going to come at you. Now, when can you take out money out of the 401k? If you're still employed, you might be eligible to take out a loan. Now, there's a difference between taking out a loan at a bank and taking a loan out of a 401k. When you take a loan out of a bank, you got to qualify, with your credit score. You got to get approved. It's on your credit record, and it's debt, and you're paying the bank back interest, right? When you're taking a loan off your 401k, you're pretty much asking yourself for a loan. All that money you contributed into the 401k, that's money that came out of your paycheck that you worked for, and now you're asking yourself for a loan. And then the interest rate on the 401k contract, it does change. Every contract is different. So don't think every contract has like a 5%. Some have 3%. Some have 4%. Some have 7%. Especially with inflation and the Fed's raising the rates right now. Some are higher right now. Keep that in mind. But the interest, you're paying it back to yourself. You're not paying no bank. You're not getting any debt out. So let's say you default on that loan. If it's pre-tax money, never got taxed. So when it gets defaulted, you just gotta pay taxes on it and any accrued interest, and you keep what you haven't paid. Now, if you want to take out another loan and you're still employed, you will have to pay that outstanding loan balance that did default before you can take out another loan. Do keep that in mind. So you can't just take out money, default on it, and then take out another loan, default on it. That's not how it works. But the loan, you're paying that back through each paycheck you get. So your balance is going back. You're replenishing your balance that you borrowed from yourself, and you're paying yourself back interest if you leave employment there. all that money, you just pay taxes on it on the outstanding loan balance. If you were gonna cash it out anyways, well, you're just gonna pay taxes on everything anyways. And best of all is there's no debt. It's your money, and then it's not going towards the bank. It's not on your credit report too. So if you default on it, don't be scared. It's not gonna hurt your credit score. Now withdrawals. It's if you're still employed but don't have any loans eligible. Keep in mind there's different requirements for loans under different contracts and also withdrawals. So when you're still employed, you're over 59 and a half, they usually have a 59 and a half withdrawal where you can cash out the money in there, or you can roll the money over to a different retirement account. So when you're rolling money over, it's not a taxable event. You're just moving it from one retirement account to another. So you just got to pay any fees on there, and that's all. Now, there could be other withdrawals. So, for example, a hardship, you're meeting a hardship and you need some assistance. I know the world is tough right now. So, if you're going through eviction notice, if your bank says they're foreclosing on your home, you could have that available as a hardship. Now, you cannot roll over this money. You have to take it out as in cash because the IRS sees it as, hey, you have a hardship right now, you need the cash. So you do have to pay taxes on that if it's not taxed yet. And then depending how old you are, there could be a 10% early withdrawal penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half and you're still employed. So do keep that in mind there. And these two things you can only take out when you're employed. As soon as you leave employment with the company, you get fired, they're no longer available to you. Keep that in mind. And then there's also some other withdrawal options available, but it does differ from contract to contract. But those are the most pretty much available options, the most common, I would say. Now, for a hardship, if you're wondering what's the qualifications, go to the IRS website. But there are 7, and purchase of primary residence. You're buying a home. You can take out money to buy the home. To a certain extent, there are some rules on there. You can't just take out enough money to buy the whole house. And then one thing is car repairs. That's not a hardship per the IRS rules. Cannot get a hardship reason for repairs on your car. You have to repair your car on your own, unfortunately. And then there's repairs on your primary residence. If you have a home and something drastic happens to it, kind of like what happened in Louisiana with Katrina, that is a hardship there. Also, can pay your post-secondary education expenses. You're going back to school, your kid's going back to college, and you can't afford the tuition. You guys have been declined for benefits from the government, assistance from the government. You could apply for a hardship. And then there are a couple more. I'm kind of blanking on them right now. Give me 1 second. So the other ones, I will just take a quick look here. It is a podcast for, just keep that in mind, guys. We can look up stuff. So unreimbursable medical expenses, that is also another one. On your parent died, your kid died, burial expenses are expensive. That's a hardship there. So do keep those in mind. Those are mainly the main reasons there. Now, Do you want to move forward to what happens if you leave employment or you get fired? Can you get the money out? Well, the thing is, yes, you can. That's a distribution. You're no longer employed. You're entitled to those benefits. Per the IRS rules, you can take it out if you're 65 or age of early retirement. If you died, if you have full disability and been declared fully disabled, if you separate from the company, if your employer says, hey, we're terminating the 401k plan for everybody, you need to get your money out of this 401k plan, then you're entitled to those benefits and can move it and inquire about your options there. So that's probably one of the most common reasons. So now keep in mind, different contracts do have different rules. Some employers might tell you you gotta wait 60 days after you left employment with us to cash your 401k account. So always inquire about the rules and what you need to do. Do keep in mind the rules are set up for everybody. They're not just to you. Every employee under the 401k contract has to follow them. So if you have to wait 60 days to even make a request on your money, so does everybody else. Now keep track of your money. This is the most important thing. Keep track of your investments. There are certain investment options offered under the 401k plan. Now the thing is with the 401k plan, it's a contract employer setup, so they do have a limited amount of options. Don't expect it to be like the stock market where you can pretty much invest in Tesla, Rivian, Google. It's not like that. You have to pick a certain investments that they have in the contract. Can't invest in gold. There's nothing like that. Sometimes if you want something guaranteed where everything is linear and going up, you can do a guaranteed interest option. That is an account where you gain a set interest rate for a certain amount of years and it matures. If you take it out early, you might be subject to penalties. If you leave it in there and it matures, you can reinvest it. You can move it to other investments in the 401k. But keep in mind, if you take it out early, you might be subject to penalties. They also have restrictions on some of the investments. Sometimes you can only move in and out of certain investments once every 60 days. So always read the guidelines. And then for investments, the thing it does relate to the stock market is it fluctuates. If you don't have your account in a guaranteed interest option, your investments are going to fluctuate with the market. So from what we're seeing in the market, if you're seeing your 401k going down, guess what? Everybody's 401k is going down because it's fluctuating with the market. It just doesn't go up and up and up until you're retired 40 years later. Keep that in mind. Now there's some more conservative options under the 401k. There's some more aggressive. So with that, you want to keep track of what's happening in the world. For financial reasons, you can move around your investments during certain times to maximize the potential. And also do keep in mind, most retirement accounts are long-term investments. Sure, you're having a shitty year, but is it going to be shitty for 30 years straight? Most likely not. As you look at the history in the market, there's been ups and downs, but since the Great Depression, it has gone up. So take a look at that. Don't think short term, think long term. If you're 25 and you really think about wanting to stay with the same company for the next 30 years, what do you have to worry about that 1 year is bad out of those 30 years? And at the same time, you gotta look at the data every day or every month, just to make sure you're on top of it. Also, create an online account. You can keep track of everything online very smoothly. If you're a tech-savvy person, boy, you can do everything online quick. Quick and simple. You don't need to call in, request paper copies, all that. Now, sometimes you would have to need paper copies, but the thing is, if you have an online account, it makes it so much easier. So, if you have access to the internet, if you have a computer, make an online account for your 401k. If you do not, and I understand some people might not be tech savvy, I definitely understand that. My dad can barely um, handle a smartphone, so he's not tech savvy at all. So I don't expect him to create an online account if he had a 401k. So if you're one of those people, make sure you have all your delivery options. Contact your bookkeeper. Make sure you have all your delivery options set to paper. That way you get notices in the mail. Because, like I said, if your former employer is terminating their plan contract, and for all active and non-active employees, you got a certain amount of days to take out your money. So you need to get notice of that. And that's very important. Also, your statements. And so just calling into your bookkeeper once a month, checking up on your account. Keep your account updated. Make sure your address is always updated. If you move a lot, get it updated. Because the thing that happens is some people will leave their 401k somewhere and just want to let you know it doesn't follow you around. It can be cashed out automatically to you if it's low enough balance. It can be turned into an IRA either to the bookkeeper's books or to a third-party IRA provider. And it gets complicated when you're looking back 20 years trying to find your 401k. That's why I said you should be keeping track of your money. Keep track of your money. I always hear people complaining about the smallest things. Oh, there's a $5 fee here. Well, you ain't keeping track of your 20,000 401k from 20 years ago, but you're complaining about $5 fee? Come on here. So that's why you gotta keep track of the money. Make sure you have all your information updated at all times. Most important thing too, make sure you have beneficiaries on the 401k plan. I can't stress this enough. Taking a sip of water. Can't stress it enough. You gotta have beneficiaries on the 401k plan, because it's not like they're just gonna hand over the money to your wife and your wife can just call in and cash it out. That's not how it works. There's some legal bounds there. So always have beneficiaries so the bookkeeper can contact the beneficiary, not if you die, when. That's the thing. None of us live for 1,000 years. Sadly, we all die. So, and when you're saving for retirement, part of this money is to help, your kids, help pay off the home that you and your wife are living, or you and your husband are living at. So you always want to keep your beneficiaries updated. That way, in case something does happen to you, you can't change that after you die. Do it before. That way you have it easier on your loved ones. Your loved ones can access that money, because if you don't have a beneficiary, anybody can call in saying they're your son or daughter trying to get that money. So these bookkeepers are very security wise and legal wise very strict about that for a certain reason. Because imagine if someone just called in after you died, they cashed out your 401k, and then your wife called in 2 weeks later saying she was calling in about her husband's 401k, and then the bookkeeper is like, well, oh, we saw you already called in 2 weeks ago. We already cashed it out. So that's the issue right there. We don't want that happening. Nobody wants that happening. Make sure you always keep your account secure. Always keep the beneficiaries on there. That way, when your loved ones do call in to access the money there, it's easier so they can get that, because there are a lot of things to pay after someone passes. And we'll make an episode about that at some point, because I know death is a huge subject. It's an expensive subject. Whoever thought dying was expensive. You saw living was expensive enough. Now inquire about your options if you're no longer employed. Biggest thing, don't just leave your job if you have a 401k and never do anything with it, or never inquire about your options, because you might want to do something with that money. You might need that money. But if you don't know what you can do and you're struggling, well, if you could cash that out and pay your bills, but you didn't know all those years, that could have saved you right there. So always stress, keep track of your accounts. So thank you. This has been the very first video of this topic in the series. Just stay with me, stay subscribe, like, and share. We'll bring more stuff. Now here's the thing, go in the comments if you got any 401k questions, any financial questions. We can make a video on it. We can make follow-up videos on it. Just let me know what you want to learn. Also, it's a place for debate, not in a respectful manner. So everyone's got their opinion on things. Like I said, some people don't like 401ks. If you don't like it, fine. Give us some direction on what works for you then. So share your knowledge with everybody. Let's help each other. Most importantly, have a fantastic day. Enjoy your day. Thank you for joining.